Hi guys, welcome to the virtual walkthrough of the 2021 Cougar 29 MBS fifth wheel. This is a half-ton towable unit. It has lots of features we're going to show you as we go through it. Starting at the front, you've got your standard fifth wheel hitch, and going underneath, you have great big storage under here where your battery and your spare tire will be located. Open that up. Lots of storage there for anything else, and again, you have the battery brand new charge on board and hooked up and ready to go. You also have your access to your hydraulics for your leveling system. We have a different video that explains how to use the leveling system on this unit, so we'll give you a link on that one below. So close that back up. On the front here, we have a couple of different docking lights. So we have switches for the LEDs on the front cap of the unit. They're the orange ones, and then the bottom one is the LED for right over the hitch. So one is great for driving as well. It lights up when you're hooked up, but it's also good for just in the park. It looks nice at night, and the other one is also light to help you hitch up if you're doing it in the dark. So turning them on and off there. You have another docking light for underneath here that just if it is dark out and you get to have access to something in here and help you get that light. So that's the front. Have a beautiful front cap, and as I said, you have the LEDs here. I'll just put them on so you can see what they look like. Really nice, especially at nighttime. Have a nice orangish yellow color to them that really looks great at night. Coming down the side, we have a couple of slides here. Just while we look at talking about slides, we need to talk about maintenance. On your RV, every joint in the RV on the outside is all caulked with a RV sealant, and it's something that you have to make sure that you maintain over the course of its life. So regular checkups on the caulk. As any caulking, it gets dried and cracked over time, and you need to make sure that that stays pliable and is keeping any water or moisture out of the unit. If it does become dry and cracked, it will let moisture in and become a big problem. So you got to make sure all of these joints, all the way up along the roof, even on the slide boxes here, there's caulking all around here that you need to make sure are in good working order. The other thing to watch for in your RV is your rubber roof. Rubber roof is it's a great pliable feature. It does keep the rainwater and any kind of moisture out, but over time, if it's not treated and conditioned, it will dry out and crack, and you could have, again, moisture problems. So any RV dealership, especially us, will sell you a two-part, one cleaning, one-part conditioning system that you clean the roof of any debris and anything else up there, and then you can do a conditioning to keep that rubber pliable. Also, while you're up there, you want to check all the caulking around anything that's on the roof, like satellite dishes or air conditioning vents or anything like that. Make sure there's no moisture coming in. So walking down, this is your slide in your bedroom, and underneath here we have our first access to one of the propane tanks. There's two 30-pound propane tanks on board. They would be filled coming from us, ready to go. They're not turned on at the moment. When you do get to your campsite, you're going to want to turn one of the tanks on. We recommend you don't run both of them. If you open both tanks, you will drain your propane from both tanks equally, and then you'll have no propane at the end. This way, if you just start with one and let it drain and then move to the other one, you can take one out and fill it. And that helps a lot, be able to keep camping and not worry about running out of propane. So that's your access panel for one. There's another propane tank on the other side. With propane, especially the first few times you may get into the camper, there could be air in the lines, so you're going to want to purge that. I typically say use your oven range, the burners on your cooktop, to purge it. So try and ignite them, let them run for a couple of seconds to burn any oxygen out, make sure the propane's flowing through the system. Then when you do that, your water heater will work correctly if you're going to want to run it on propane, and your furnace will work correctly as well. So just be cautious of that. If you don't purge those lines, sometimes when you get to your camper, you could have issues with those appliances starting up for the first time. There's a very big under cab storage here. It goes right through, lots of access. An equally sized door on the other side, In there, you're going to see your 50 amp cable with what we call a 50 to 30 dog bone. We supply the 50 to 30 dog bones because we don't want you to get to a campsite where you're thinking you're going to get 50 amps and you only have 30 and you can't hook your trailer up. So most campgrounds now are at least running 30, and this way, if you run the 30, you can still run pretty much everything in the unit. You just have to be careful of your load depending on what you are going to run at that point. When you're running 50, you can run everything. So just something we thought we would throw in on every trailer that we sell that's 50 amp. As well, in the front corner here, you're going to see your leveling system. So we are going to, as I said at the beginning, give you a link below to have you a walkthrough of how to operate that. It's a pretty neat feature, but there are some tricks with it that you should know. Following down below, this is where all your access are. At the very top, you've got a light that gives you some light into the area in case it's dark out when you're trying to do something, which is a great feature. Then you've got hot and cold running water from your water tank and your plumbing system there with a quick connect cable right here. So it's just one of the quick connects, a nozzle inside that you hook up to that and run it with a hose, or run it just like a exterior water hose. After that, you have your water heater bypass when you're ready to winterize, plus your winterization input for flushing the system with antifreeze. Below that, you have your city water connection. So when you get your campsite, you're ready to hook the RV up to the post for water. This is your input here. It goes in and screws into there. Now this is plastic fitting, so don't try and over tighten with any kind of tools. Make sure you hand tighten it until it's snug and no dripping, and then leave it at that. Below that is your tank flush for your black tank. If you feel like it's time to clean your black tank out, you can hook up your water hose to there just like you did above and flush that tank with water and clean it out. Coming down the other side of the panel, you have an input here for built-in solar panel prep. If you have an exterior solar panel that you want to trickle charge your battery, that's where the input would be. There is already wired here for a satellite system on the roof. There is no dish, but the cabling is all in place, so it's a much easier system nowadays to be able to put a satellite system on the roof. And again, this is KeyTV. KeyTV is a system that Keystone came out with, which will determine if it's satellite system signal or regular standard cable system, and determine that and then deal with it appropriately. Below that, you have your battery disconnect. It's currently in the off position, pointing this way. That when it's time to store your unit for a short period of time, say a week or a month, or if you have your unit stored inside over the winter without a trickle charger on it, you disconnect your battery so it's not being drained by any parasitic losses in the unit like radios and stuff, and you won't end up with a flat battery. At the very bottom here, you've got your two tank flushes. On this unit, there's two exterior septic system outputs. One of them is right below, right here, and the other one is at the back. So at the front here, we have a gray tank and a black tank, and at the back, we just have a black tank. So the way this works is that if you wanted to empty your black, you pull this that lever out while you've connected your sewer system hose into the septic bed, and that will drain the black tank. The same thing with the gray on the other side. We do recommend that you drain your black and then flush that down with your gray. Gray is just your shower water, your sink water. Your black is your toilet. So just make sure that it just makes it a little bit cleaner. They're both dirty water, but gray is certainly cleaner than black. And then we also recommend that you don't keep these valves open when you're camping. So even if you're hooked up, keep them closed, let your tank come to full, and then drain them out. If you leave those open, you're letting the gases from system in the ground or wherever you're hooked up to into the unit, and can be hazardous to your health. So just be cautious of that. The very bottom, you've got a little access door here, or access circle, to run any of your plumbing, hoses, cabling, anything you need to run outside of the unit into this area can come up and down through here. It's a great little feature, and then you don't have them sticking out the side of your unit. It makes it a little nicer, neater looking. Put that back in place. Okay, so moving down the unit, we'll close these. These are slam latch closes, so slam it and close. They're automatic that way, and then you have your locking on the outside. Your water heater is located in this area. It's a propane and electric water heater. This one is not quite ready. This was what your anode rod would look like when it's in the system and ready to go. So for like winterization stuff, you take these out, make sure that there's no water in there, it drains out. When you're ready to start using them, they're in the unit tightened up like that, and that's what keeps the metal tank from inside from corroding and stuff. So that is important to use. We've got electric on the bottom here and propane in, so you can run on propane, on electric, or both on this unit. Moving down, you get a pretty good size slide for what's in the bunk room with a nice access window or emergency exit window on the top. Your freshwater connection is located here behind this door. You have onboard storage for fresh water. It is something that you can fill up and use for when traveling. You just put your hose in there and flush it through this, or fill the system up. And then when you're ready to use that water, there's an electric pump that runs off the battery that will pressurize the plumbing system from that fresh water and put it through all your taps and stuff. So a great feature when you're traveling. When you do get to your campsite, it will be, unless you're dry camping, you'd hook up through the city water connection we showed you before, and then you wouldn't need this anymore. Just make sure this stays clean. Any kind of stagnant water or standing water like that over time will become potentially a health concern. So make sure you're flushing this out regularly, keeping it clean and ready to go. This is the outside of the fridge. There's an exterior vent for heat and condensation. Below that is your exterior output for your furnace. So when your furnace is running on propane, heating the unit, this will get pretty hot and the exhaust will come out here. So just watch yourself touching that. If you haven't used your hot or your heating system, your propane heating system for a while, say through the summertime and you're ready in the fall, just make sure there's no bugs that have clogged this hole up here, and if they have, make sure you clean it out because it could be a fire hazard if it's completely blocked up. Coming around the back of the unit, you have a walkable roof on this unit, so you do have a ladder, so you can get up on the unit. Obviously watch yourself when you're out there, especially when you are doing your roof cleaning because it can get pretty slippery. Rear tail lights, rear driving lights on this, as well as this is where your power cable goes in for it. So in, turn, and then snug it down, and then plug it into the post, and you're ready to go. Coming around this side of the unit, you've got your big slide here, which is part of the kitchen. It's a nice big slide. With kind of slide, you want to make sure when you do put it out that these rubbers here completely seal up, both along the top see it and along the sides, and also give these a silicone spray, every once in a while to keep them pliable, because if these dry out, you can they may not fold over correctly or potentially open a little gap where there's some water could get in, so just be cautious of that. You have your awning on this unit. You have a front and rear awning. The front one is located right over the door. The rear one is on the slide. They are both power awnings and operated from the inside of the unit on the panel. In each case, you want to make sure that you'll have your open in pretty much just sunshine and cloudy days. Any real wind or specifically any heavy rain or any real rain can damage these pretty quickly, and then they basically have to replace the whole unit itself when you do that. So just be cautious of the wind and the rain, and don't leave your unit with your awnings open and go away for a period of time. Just make sure that you close them off if you're going to leave your unit. On the other front side, we have our output from our power. You have to be plugged into the post here to get your 30 amps or 50 amp power. So it's just like residential electrical outlet, but they don't run off the battery. And then your access panel on the other side of your front storage part, and your propane tank on the other side. One last thing before we move inside the unit is these stairs. These stairs are a really good new addition to RVing. They're much more stable than the old stairs, but there's a few tips to watch for. First tip is that if you do not keep this stair level, and you can raise and lower the levels of this by pushing these pins in up in here, and in this case it's actually, you can pull that out, slide that mechanism up in to depending level, and make sure that they're down low enough and level. If you don't keep them below the side of the door and this is too high, that, you would damage the door when you open. So you don't want to see that happen. The other thing is that when these are wet or dirty, anything that's on those, that when you flip it, they go inside in the unit. So you want to make sure you hose them down, dry them off, get all the debris and dirt and water off if you can, and then you won't have any of that tracked inside. So the next step is we're going to go inside. Welcome back, guys. We're now inside the unit. This again is the 2021 Cougar 29 MBS fifth wheel. We're going to start with the in-command system to show you how to operate everything in the inside of the unit. So we're going to show you this first. It's on the top of the stairs. So when you get up to the unit, it'll be a black screen. Assuming you have power running, it will be on. You press the power button. It's going to have a code. Now we put our codes in as 0000. If you want to change your code later, you can go into the settings system, go into passcode, and you can change it in there. Also in the settings, you can pair your phone, set it up to Wi-Fi, change the date and time, change the brightness settings, and there's a few other things that are in there if you want to change the actual configuration of the system. But what we're going to do right now is starting on the left side here with the HVAC. So this is air conditioning, heating, and just fans. So if you click into that area, you're going to have front AC optional and a rear AC. You switch between them on the top panel. Now this unit itself doesn't actually have a front AC, but if I did, you could click on fan here. It would activate the fan. You could change the fan speeds. You could change the temperature down to have the fan activate depending on what temperature it is. And then if I wanted to move to cool, you could go to cool. You could have the fan on auto, low, high, back to auto, and then again you set your temperature, and then it'll regulate the temperature down to whatever you set that is to as the air conditioning runs, and it would turn off when it's not needed anymore. But again, we don't have one on this. It says optional, and this one is optional, so there's no front AC. If we go to the rear AC, we have the same sort of system. So you have mode is off. Turn it to fan as your first option. Again, you can set your fan speed by this button. You can set the temperature you want the fan to run at based on the temperature of the inside of the unit. It's now 63 degrees Fahrenheit. So if we wanted the fan on to start running, we could turn it down. The temperature down and it would activate. You have your fan setting. If you want to go to cool, press it one more time. Now it's going to run in the AC mode. You can set your fan again from auto to low to high, and you set your temperature. So the AC, if I set that Fahrenheit here to below the 63, the AC would actually come on and start cooling the unit down, try and reach 61 degrees Fahrenheit. Back on the mode button again, moving from the AC over to heat. If I want the heat to come on, and the heat's going to run off of your propane system, again, it runs on a fan setting of auto, high or low, and then you have your temperature. So if you want that temperature to be 70 degrees in here, you press heat, increase it to say 70 degrees, and then the system will ignite and heat the unit until it reaches 70 degrees and then turn off, and then regulate that temperature from then on. So I'm going to bring that back down. The next setting on it is your auto, where if you wanted it to run AC or the furnace, no matter what's going on, you could set your temperature to say, I want it to be 70 degrees in this unit. So in the daytime, it's going to run the AC to keep it at 70, and if the evening, if it drops below that, it would turn on the furnace to reach 70 degrees and warm up the unit. And then after that, you have off, which will then turn off the system. And any of those when you activate any of those systems, give it a minute or so. They don't automatically activate right away sometimes. They have to cycle through. Specifically your heating system, where after you hit off, it still runs for a little while to trying to cycle through any of that excess heat it's getting in the system. So don't be panicking that if it doesn't, your AC, your fan, your heat don't go on or off immediately. Just give it a little bit of time. So if we go back to the main menu, you have lights in here. You have, in this case, we have bedroom lights on off. You have ceiling lights in the main part of the unit on off, and you'll see that the lights went off there. And then you have your awning lights. So you have lights, your LED light strips under your awning. If you want them on, you click that button there and then turn them off if you don't. That's your interior lights. On the sliding mechanisms, and your awnings. So in this unit you have 3 slides. Your master bedroom is the wardrobe slide. If you want the slide to come in, you press the in button and it'll bring it in. If you want it to go out, you press the out button. That is the same way you do with the sofa bunk slide, which is in your sofa room or your bunk room on below here, or your dinette slide in your kitchen. In and out, same way. And always keep your slides all the way in or all the way out. Don't run them half in and half out, because they're not properly, they're not sealing up on terms of their rubber seals on the outside, and they may not be level depending on what state of in and out they are. So always all the way in or all the way out. One other tip is that when you do operate your slides in and out, make sure you keep a window or a door open just to kind of keep that pressure, because as that slide goes out, it creates a pressure system, or if it's coming in, it also creates a pressure system which could damage some seals and stuff. So just make sure you keep a fresh air gap, or one-way window or door open, just to kind of make that work. Your front awning is in and out here, so right there, if you want to go out, you press the out button, otherwise you bring it in. All the way out is when you finally see that last flap on the end, which is like a sort of a flap that flips over and comes down. That would be pretty well all the way out, and the same for both awnings. Going back here, on the very top, you'll have fresh 1, black 1, gray 2. Those are your tanks levels. If as you fill up these tanks, you'll see this little gauge start moving. So if the fresh water was full, it wouldn't just be a solid blue like that. They'd have a indicator of what the level was. The same with your black and your 2 grays. At the very bottom, you have your current state of charge for your battery. If you're going to run onboard fresh water storage, which we talked about outside, you're going to need to run your electric water pump. So to turn that on, you hit that. If you're constantly going to run that, you'll